Good evening, students. Today, let's start chapter 3 of English, The Wisdom in Carrots. Students, what do you mean by the word wisdom? Wisdom means the ability to make good decisions based on knowledge and experience. In other way, the person understands a situation properly and only then he decides whether to take a right decision. That is wisdom. Carrot is a vegetable. It has wisdom, children. Let's see. Let us read and know the story well. I'm going to read and explain the lesson at the same time. Please do listen carefully. Here I go. After spending a few months in India, Nasruddin Hodja returned to Turkey. After spending many days, many months, you can say, many months, Nasruddin Hodja, the name of that person, stayed in Turkey. Turkey is not in India, it is out of India. He rested at home for a while and then set out to visit the king and tell him about his journey. After returning, he rested, he was tired. He stayed at home for a while and he thought of visiting the king to tell him about his journey, how his journey was, what all he came across. He wanted to tell the king about his journey. As he was leaving the house, as he was about to come out of the house, suddenly his mother asked him, mother asked him to buy some carrots on the way home. As he was about to leave the home, his mother asked him to buy some carrots from the market and come back home. Since he was quite forgetful means काफी भुलाकर था नजरुद्दीन होड्जा, काफी नहीं ज़्यादा ही भुलाकर था. His memory was very weak. He would not remember. She gave him a piece of paper with the word carrots on it. So mother knew about Hodja and so she gave him a piece of paper and on that paper she wrote the word carrot so that Hodja remembers. When Hodja arrived at the king's court, he was greeted with garlands and loud cheers. When he reached the king's palace, the court, he was greeted. Greeted means abhivadan with garlands. Garlands here is to place a garland, usually of flowers, around a person's neck. So he was greeted by putting garland on his neck and they cheered him. Cheered here to make someone feel happy. Cheered. All the courtiers, the king along with courtiers cheered him. So Hodja, what did you learn in India? Did you find true wisdom? So the king, after seeing Hodja, he said, what have you learnt in India? You went to India and what did you learn over there? Did you find true wisdom? Did you find true wisdom there? Wisdom, I told you, is an ability to make good decision and when you get this ability, when you have knowledge, when you have experience, yes, So the king was very much excited to know about the wisdom Hodsa had got when he went to India. Hodsa was stunned. Hodsa was very surprised. Stunned means here, I will give you the meaning, very surprised, and here goes the sentence, stunned. I looked at her in stunned silence. I repeat the sentence. I looked at her in stunned silence. So Hodsa was surprised, very surprised. How was he to explain to the king and that true wisdom could not be found? How he was now thinking how to explain to the king about true wisdom. Now he was surprised how he was to explain the king the true wisdom. That wisdom could not be found. It had to be learned. He cleared his throat. Now he was a bit nervous, and he like that he did, cleared his throat. I have not found true wisdom, Your Majesty. In a respectful manner he said, Your Majesty, but I have learned many things that will help anyone become very wise, he said. But I have learned lot of things, many things that will make someone become wise person, he said to the Majesty. Majesty here, Maharaja. You have failed me, thundered the king. The king shouted at him loudly. Thundered means shouted very loudly. Hodsa thought quickly. Now seeing the situation, seeing the king got angry, he spoke quickly. Your Majesty, I have written down all you need to know about wisdom on this piece of paper. He told the king quickly before he could get more angry. I have written everything on the piece of paper. He had a piece paper, the folded slip of paper which his mother gave him. So that paper he gave to the king. Folded means the piece of paper is covered with folds, or to take or to bend and press one part of something on another. That way the paper was. So the paper was given to the king, wherein we are told in the lesson his mother gives him that piece of paper so that he doesn't forget to bring carrot. And what was written on the paper, children? Yes, the word carrot was written so that Hodsa doesn't forget to bring the carrot. So the same paper he hands over to the king. The king gathered all the courtiers. The king gathered all the Darbarian. Courtiers here means Darbarian. Nasruddin Hodsa has just returned from the great land of India. Nasruddin had just landed to his place, his native place Turkey, from the land of India. He has found out what true wisdom is about and has written it down on this paper. Now the king tells the courtiers who are present in the palace, in the court, that he had been to India and he found true wisdom, and that is what he wrote in the paper. The king tells this. I will now read it out to you. And so the king opens the folded paper and it starts reading it. He says, listen carefully. He tells the courtiers to listen carefully so that you too may become wise like him, so that you too will become a wise person like Hodsa. Saying this, the king opened the slip of paper. Saying this, he spoke the words and he opened the paper. Instantly, his face grew red. At once, seeing the word on that paper, the king got angry. His face turned red. He looked sharply at Hodsa. With big eyes, he looked at Hodsa. I ask you for true wisdom. The king said, I asked you true wisdom, and you gave me the paper with the word carrots on it, and you are giving me the paper wherein you have written the word carrot. How can this be a wisdom? The king asked him. If you are trying to make a fool of me, I will have you imprisoned. Hodsa, explain yourself. Now the king was very angry on Hodsa because he saw the word carrot, and how can he find wisdom in that word carrot? You better explain to me. If you don't, I will put you in the jail. I will put you in the prison. Don't make fool of me, he said. Don't try to tell me rubbish thing. I'm not a fool, I'm a king, he said. So don't make me angry. If you do so, you are going to go in the jail. I will imprison you. I will put you into prison. Explain, king. Hodsa smiled. Hearing the words of the king, Hodsa smiled. He did not get frightened at all. He bowed before the king and said, he put his head down, and in due respect, he bowed to the king because he is a king. He bowed towards the king. And you give me a paper with the He bowed before the king and said, Your Majesty, I would never insult you. I can never dare insult you, he said. Insult? To say something rude. I will never speak rudely with you, king. Hodsa told him. I wrote the word carrots on that slip of paper because I feel that it describes true wisdom perfectly. So here Hodsa, in a nice manner, with respectful word, he tells the king, I have written this word carrot so that I can describe to you everything in a better way, perfectly. The remaining part of the lesson I will explain to you, read and explain to you children when we meet next period.